All right, I'm going to do a series of preview and prediction videos this week for Rivalry Week. This is my favorite weekend in college football almost every single year. Just 3 days of great games, kicking off Thursday night with the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss and Mississippi State games all day Friday, games all day Saturday. Some of the biggest games of the year every year happen during this holiday weekend around Thanksgiving with Rivalry Weekend. You've got great in-state rivals. You've got great conference rivals. You've got rivalry games that have not only conference but playoff implications. Just unbelievable games. 3 straight days. This is the first of the preview and prediction videos I'm going to do for Rivalry Week, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to talk about in this video. This is going to be SEC teams versus SEC teams during Rivalry Week. So we got Auburn, Bama in the Iron Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, LSU versus Texas A&M, Missouri versus Arkansas, and Tennessee versus Vandy. Let's start out with the Iron Bowl. Bama on the road at Auburn, and man, there's never a good time to get humiliated by New Mexico State, but I don't know if Auburn could have picked a worse time for this to happen than the week before the Iron Bowl. One of the most embarrassing losses that Auburn has suffered in my lifetime. Just no excuse for Auburn to ever be losing a game to a team like that, especially in blowout fashion. They lost by 21 points at home to a group of 5 team. It's just unacceptable. Bama comes in on a roll. They're playing much better now than they were at the beginning of the season. And I know the whole thing about, when it comes to rivalry games, you can just throw the records out the window, or weird things happen in the Iron Bowl, or there's a voodoo curse at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and weird things happen there all the time. Some of that stuff may be true some of the time, although I think some of that is a little bit overrated. Some of the talk about, you can just throw the records out when it comes to rivalry games. I think some of that's kind of overrated. I think a lot of that is just people kind of repeating a talking point that they've been hearing for years and years and years. Generally speaking, whether it's a rivalry game or not, the better team usually wins. You get some upsets in rivalry games. Of course you do. Just like you get upsets every single week of the college football season. In this particular case here for the Iron Bowl this year, I just don't see a way Auburn's going to keep this thing close. Hugh Freeze is in his first year at Auburn. He's got serious quarterback issues. And whatever you think about Hugh Freeze, whether you think he's a really good coach, a really bad coach, or anywhere in between, I think we can all agree that for Hugh Freeze to be at his best, again, whatever you think his best is, he's got to have somebody at quarterback that can run his offense. And the reality is this season they just don't have that. And, whether it's injuries, attrition, loss of interest, whatever it is, Auburn, unlike Bama, appears to be getting worse as the season goes along. That performance last week was just horrendous. And, yes, this is a rivalry game. Yes, it's a home game for Auburn, so Bama's got to go on the road. Yes, like you, I have seen plenty of weird things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium, from the kick six to the prayer at Jordan-Hare to a couple of years ago when Auburn was really, really bad and Bama was really, really good. And it took a 99-yard touchdown drive by Bryce Young in the last minute of the game for Bama to win. I've seen all those things. I don't think we're going to see anything like that this year, though. Alabama's a 14.5-point favorite on the road at Auburn this week, and I don't think that's enough. I think Bama wins, and I think Bama covers the 14.5. Hugh Freeze has had some success against Bama and Nick Saban in the past from his days at Ole Miss, and I do think that if Hugh Freeze is able to get some more of his players into Auburn, whether that be through some recruiting classes or the transfer portal, I do think that Auburn is poised to take significant steps forward under Hugh Freeze in the years to come. But I don't think this is going to be a very memorable Iron Bowl for the Auburn fans. I'm going to take Bama and lay the 14.5. The Egg Bowl, this comes on Thanksgiving night at, I think, 7:30. I'm going to be live streaming Thursday night for the Egg Bowl, too. So after you stuff your face full of turkey and ham and whatever else it is you're eating on Thanksgiving, if you're going to sit yourself down and watch the Egg Bowl Thursday night, then make sure you come back here, tune into the channel. We can hang out and watch the Egg Bowl together. If it ends up being a blowout in the second half, then I will transition the show into a call-in show, which I normally do on Thursday nights anyway. But if it's a good game, then I think we're just going to hang out and watch the game like a normal Saturday game stream. But that's Thursday night at 7:30. Ole Miss on the road at Mississippi State, and Ole Miss is favored by 10. This is another one where I feel like this might not be enough points. I do think Ole Miss is a pretty good team this year. In fact, this might be one of Lane Kiffin's best teams. I know he's lost to some of the better teams that he's played, coming up a little bit short against Bama, kind of getting ran over. A game got away from him a little bit against Georgia on the road. But this is a pretty good Ole Miss team, and Mississippi State just is not a very good team. They've already fired their head coach, who, of course, was basically just an interim coach. He wasn't technically named an interim coach, but, you know, the tragic passing of Mike Leach after the end of last season, Mississippi State just wasn't really able to conduct a coaching search, so they promoted Zach Arnett from defensive coordinator to head coach. And Zach Arnett made a calculated risk, I think, to sort of totally flip over everything that Mississippi State was doing under Mike Leach with the air raid offense. They went towards more of a kind of a ground game, control the clock, possessions, play good defense type of thing, and it just didn't work. You have Will Rogers at quarterback. Guy's been throwing 60 passes a game for 2 or 3 years under Mike Leach. You look at him this year, he's averaging 20-something passes a game. It just didn't work. They fired him. They'll conduct a more traditional coaching search now that the season is coming to an end. But again, I feel like this is a situation where the road favorite is not only going to win, but cover. Lane's offense has performed pretty well this season. They've got a pretty good running game led by Quinshon Judkins, and Jackson Dart has played pretty good down the stretch. I'm hoping for a good game like I am in every rivalry game that I watch, and I do think there's a better chance of this one being close than the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn. But I just can't see Mississippi State hanging in there with Ole Miss. I'm going to take the Rebels on the road to win and cover the 10. LSU at home against Texas A&M, another team without a coach here. In Texas A&M, they fired Jimbo Fisher. They're going to go a different direction. I am, like you, extremely curious to see which way they end up going with head coach at Texas A&M, and I have a feeling we may hear something this weekend. I think they have an idea of who they want, and I would not at all be surprised if that gets announced or named this weekend or Monday of next week. But Texas A&M is on the road as an 11-point underdog at LSU, and Jaden Daniels has been just putting on an absolute show really all season, but particularly over the last few weeks. I did 8 touchdowns this past weekend or whatever it was. He's just putting up video game numbers, just absolutely ridiculous what Jaden Daniels is doing at LSU this season. And it's kind of a shame to see it. I don't want to say it's gone to waste, because I think Jaden Daniels has made himself a ton of money this season through an increased draft stock. Look, I still have questions about his size and durability. I almost have to look away from the TV every time I see Jaden Daniels take off running and take a hit. And when he does get to the NFL, he's going to have to learn how to slide and step out of bounds. But there is no doubt that he is probably, well, there's no probably, he has been the most exciting player to watch in all of college football this season. And while this is going to be one of the better defenses that LSU has faced, I, again, just don't see a real chance here for Texas A&M to pull off the upset. For one thing, they're on the road in Death Valley at LSU, a very tough place to play. I think LSU is going to get the win. They've got some defensive issues over there. As good as their offense has been, their defense has been equally as bad. I actually think LSU is going to win the game, but I'm going to take Texas A&M in the points. I think Texas A&M comes out, plays inspired football. You have a lot of players on that team that are going to be hitting the transfer portal, so maybe they're looking to put one more game on tape, try to convince somebody to take them in through the portal. But I do think LSU wins, but I'm not sure they can cover the 11, so I'm going to take Texas A&M and the points. Missouri and Arkansas. This one is a home game for Arkansas. Mizzou is favored by 7.5. Disappointing performance from Missouri last week at home against a bad Florida team. Missouri was coming off just an absolute beatdown of Tennessee. Florida rolls into town on 3 flat tires and a busted radiator and damn near beat Missouri, and probably should have beat them. Florida's quarterback went out in the second half of that game. Backup came in and had Florida in a position to win that game. In fact, Florida went down and took a lead with a field goal with about a minute to go. kicked the ball back off to Missouri, and Florida's defense just epic letdown there. They had Missouri backed up on a 4th and 17, and they let Missouri convert a first down, which kept the drive alive. Missouri then goes on to kick a game-winning field goal. A heartbreaking loss for Florida, but lucky to pull that one out, Missouri. Arkansas, again, has struggled this year. Lots of smoke around Sam Pittman, but it sounds like now they are going to keep him for at least another year. I'm happy for Sam Pittman. He's a nice guy. I don't think anybody dislikes Sam Pittman, and I wish nothing but the best for him. I hope he's able to get it turned around there at Arkansas, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I'm a believer in Missouri. I do think they're a really good team, and I don't think Arkansas is very good. I think Missouri on the road wins and covers the 7.5. And then you've got an in-state game, Tennessee versus Vandy. Tennessee, a disappointing year, especially with the expectations they had coming into the season off of what they did last year, their first 10-win regular season in most people's memory. They ended up going 11-2 after a New Year's Six bowl win against Clemson. Lost a lot of pieces off of that offense, and it hurt them. Joe Milton was never able to give them anything close to what they were getting with Hendon Hooker, and the wide receiver room, I think, took a significant step back without Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt. The running game was good, and Tennessee played good defense for large parts of the year, but the loss on the road to Florida is really unexplainable. The loss to Bama and the loss to Georgia, while Tennessee fans don't want to be losing to Georgia and Bama, the reality is Georgia and Bama are just both better than Tennessee right now. So you can find a way to kind of excuse those two losses. It's the Florida loss and the Missouri loss. And it's easy to look at Missouri and go, well, they were better than Tennessee too, so that's not an embarrassing loss. Tennessee should not have allowed itself to get into a position where Missouri is this much better than them. Missouri beat the soul out of them. It looked like Tennessee had just give up in that game. And then they had Georgia roll into town and steamroll them too. But the cure for whatever ails you is to play Vandy, because as disappointing as Tennessee has been, Vandy has just been absolutely awful this season. They haven't won a game since September. It's been really, really bad. Vandy is a 27-point underdog in this game. I do think they cover the 27. Now, I don't think this game's going to be close. I think Tennessee will win by a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see Nico in the second half of this game, which I think will make a lot of the Tennessee fans happy. I'm going to say Tennessee wins by 24, just shy of the 27 points that they're favored. So in that one, I'm going to take Vandy and the 27 points. There you go. That's all the games involving SEC versus SEC. Again, I'm going to do a series of these. So coming up next, in the next video that I do, I'll do the SEC versus ACC matchup. So Clemson versus South Carolina, Georgia versus Georgia Tech, Florida versus Florida State, Kentucky versus Louisville. I'll do a separate video and talk about those games there. But anyway, appreciate you watching. Have a good morning.